Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Box to Box Babes with less of the babes, more more gentlemen this evening. We've got lots to discuss, even though we are again going through a really dry international break period. But yeah, before we waste any more time, let's get into it. Okay, so let's do some introductions, some familiar faces from the football terrace. So tonight we've got Prime with us. How you doing, Prime?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, thanks for coming on. We have the one, the only Lincoln Jack. How are you?
I'm calm. Thanks for the invitation onto the show.
Absolutely no problem again. We have our two amazing regulars, Mary and Kendall. Hello, girls. How are you?
Not too bad. Just counting down the days until the international break is over.
Aren't we all? Just a quick note, guys. We have sort of lost Mel for a little period. She will be making appearances back on the show, but she's just taking some time away for some personal reasons. So, yeah, no Mel tonight. So, guys, I mean, I guess it is a bit of England versus Ireland here, just like last night, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm going to go and start straight in with some breaking news about Mo Salah. COVID. Now, I'm not really too sure about the sources that I'm seeing from people saying that it was from his brother's wedding. I don't want to make assumptions, but the bottom line is he has COVID, and by the looks of it, he will be missing their game next Saturday against Leicester. Big game, Leicester top of the league. Prime, I'll start with you. How much of a miss do you think Mohamed Salah might be in that game?
A big one, considering the fact that Jota will come in, Mane and Firmino. What backup or strength do they have to bring off the bench? Because Leicester are a really good team. It's going to be difficult. They might need something. They might need firepower off the bench, which they no longer have. Jota was meant to be that, so I think it'll be a struggle for them. They should get through it because Klopp is a world-class manager. He should find some sort of system or whatever to come out of it, but it'll be a miss.
Definitely. Just going to introduce and say hello to a little latecomer. Jem, hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. How you doing? You good?
Yeah, good, thank you. We'll come straight to you, actually, just talking about Mo Salah and sort of Liverpool in general, actually. They've obviously this week lost Joe Gomez and now Mo Salah testing positive. We only think he'll miss one Premier League game, but just looking at Liverpool as a whole, how do you think they're going to cope?
I don't blimmin' know how they're going to cope. It's a nightmare, isn't it, when you think about it? I'm not going to lie, though. We told these, man, right at the beginning of the season that this was going to happen. You are going to lose players. You're not going to go out through a season without having any injuries. Like, it was going to happen. It was, like, mad that they didn't have one injury in the first place and they won the league the way they did. But the fact that they've had so many of their main players drop, like, I know Mo Salah's only out for 2 weeks, don't get me wrong, but they can't afford for that to happen, can they? Because it's just like, they're in trouble.
Well, exactly. I mean, it probably looks as if we are going to see a front three now of Mane, Firmino and Jota. That obviously isn't a bad front three, but we did sort of see Firmino possibly drifting out of that potential side. We saw him start in the game against City, which we weren't expecting. But is this probably an opportunity for him to go in and claim a place back in that starting 11? Mary, what do you think?
I think so, because he's not really a typical number 9 goal scorer. He isn't. His all-round play is what he's used for in the Liverpool side, as opposed to his goal scoring threat, etc. But I mean, I do rate him. I don't think he is world class or anything like that, but he does have excellent attributes. And since Jota has come in, he has been smashing it. And Firmino, he's not going to get in over Jota. Salah and Mane. So it is a huge opportunity for him. And we know he can score. He just doesn't do it regularly enough. Massive miss Mo Salah is in this game because he's potentially, him, Mane and Van Dijk are Liverpool's 3 best players. And like we even saw in that City game, like he scored that penalty and he does galvanise them at times. So they are going to massively miss him, as well as Joe Gomez, Fabinho, Virgil van Dijk. So Liverpool are in dire straits at the minute, really.
Liverpool obviously will definitely be looking to retain their title, but do we believe that now it is possible for them to do so with obviously Mohamed Salah only looking out to be for the Leicester game, but Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk looking to be season-ending injuries that there's no comeback for those two. Yeah. Do we think that those injuries will really shape whether Liverpool can win this title? Kendall, do you still believe they can win the title? No? Are you on mute?
You're on mute.
You're muted.
Can't hear.
She's not on mute. Her mic's.
Oh no,
she's not working. Oh yeah.
Well, let me take over that question.
Yeah, go on.
Honestly, with Jurgen Klopp, he's a freaking madman. So I would not be surprised if Liverpool actually do go on to win the Premier League this season. He'll probably win the Premier League with a back three and then Milner left centre back and then Hendo centre back. That's how it rolls. And he'll actually find a way for it to work. But nah, fam. Gomez and Van Dijk out, and then there are even doubts about Gomez whether he can step in for Van Dijk as that important centre back. But then now he's out, and then Salah's out with COVID. But that's for a little while. But it's looking shady for them, man.
It is.
And Matip's got legs like sticks as well, isn't he? So how long is he going to stay fit as well? Well, if he goes, they're in trouble. I'm telling you.
Oh man.
They are. I do think they are. I think it in a way, it's horrible for players to ever get injuries like this, but in a way, I think genuinely will open up the season. I thought it would be out of Liverpool and City, but City don't look up half up to it at the minute. So really, it's looking like it could be anyone's. It could be Chelsea's. It could. Do you think now?
Could be if only put them together.
No comment.
No, absolutely not.
No.
So overall, I think that the discussion around this Joe Gomez injury, we'll come on to England a little bit later, but it's a player welfare thing. We don't know exactly how and what's happened, but he's done it on international break, and that is the key thing to take from this. How do we all feel about the amount of intense international fixtures that there has been this year? Prime, what do you think?
I don't have a problem with it. I might be the only one because I actually like international games.
Okay.
But you're the only one.
Yeah.
I don't really have a problem with it. I think what makes it worse, obviously, is the fact that what the whole world is going through with COVID. None of the players really got a pre-season, so they're rushed back in, and they have to go into 2 weeks of football or international football like every month or so. So it's like, yeah.
Do you enjoy international football? Do you enjoy watching it? I mean,
I hate it.
It's different for every country, I assume, and for me anyway, as much as England are an exciting young team, I still don't really get the joy out of it that I should be.
It's just an opportunity for me to go on Sancho watching it. Sancho Grealish watch.
That's because England are bad, so you guys have no joy watching it.
I just don't see the point of international friendlies. I get it when they've got the qualifiers like the Euros and that. Yeah, we get that. They've got to play these group games. I get that. But when you're getting to play silly international friendlies, what's the point? It's not like they're unfit. They're playing for their clubs. So what's the point? It don't make no sense to me. And this is why you're getting injuries. So I just find it a bit stupid, to be honest.
Yeah,
so
Ake got injured the other day.
When would you have international games? Because you have to play your group games anyway. So when would you play?
But they were group games, were they?
No, I know, but that was a friendly or whatever. But when would you play these international games? Because you have to play the qualifiers anyway.
You have to play them in between the seasons. I get that, but the fact that they've been so close to each other from the first international to the second. What's he saying?
Yeah, dads.
Stop being stupid. But yeah, no, I just find it a bit pointless. And like they're playing enough games as it is with this whole COVID thing. Do you know what I mean? As well, and it's just like you're putting too much on their bodies, and then you're asking them to travel as well. And then you've got people like Salah who's getting blooming ill from COVID, and that if he didn't travel, he probably wouldn't have got ill. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's just like strap
Well,
it
that's assuming
for now.
he got it during.
Well, yeah, we got to wait for confirmation on that.
Like, why are you
Also-
having international football in the middle of a global pandemic?
Yeah.
So you're bringing players who are playing all over the world, and then you're bringing them into one camp when they're all separated. Of course, all players are going to start getting COVID. It's ridiculous. I agree with
Exactly.
Prime. You have to play the group games and the qualifiers. You have to play them, but friendlies, no. And I think actually international football probably should have been scrapped for about 12 months anyway while we were trying to deal with the pandemic. Going into the Euros next season, the players, we're already getting loads of injuries. We're going to get more and more and more injuries. More people going to get COVID next summer. By the time the Euros come, the players are going to be shot. It's going to be a terrible tournament anyway.
Yeah, but with that, then shouldn't we scrap football in general until everything's
No.
sorted out globally?
No.
The risk isn't as high.
You see, look.
Here, there, and
Yeah.
everywhere.
Exactly.
I'm cabin crew, so I know like the air is recycled on a plane. So if you're flying and one person's got coronavirus on that plane, you're way more susceptible to getting it than you are to getting it in the air when you're playing football. So it is so much more dangerous flying from country to country, being on a plane for a lengthy amount of time than it is to play a Premier League game, for example.
You not have to travel playing Champions League and Europa League games.
Your Prime, about your point about scrapping football together, that actually did happen, but then we brought it back, and then all the Premier League players were kept inside United all the way. We were kept inside. We kept inside the Premier League players were kept inside the bubble, and then when the season ended, and then when players started to go off on the holidays and stuff, that's when the positive COVID tests cases start coming out, and then when it went international duty, that's when it really started to ramping up, and now look where we are now. So
it's a shame
internationals are looking. Is that I don't know whether we should be going through pointless internationals like friendlies, qualifiers, and that yes, like player finals, yes, but then friendlies, like it's just a huge risk right now.
And Irish players being tested positive for coronavirus as well, hasn't he? After he played 90 minutes against England last night, so
one of the Croatian players, Vida, he was tested positive at half time.
Wow.
It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. Obviously, we've touched on the fact that we think that these injuries could definitely be shaping Liverpool's season. A team that I just want to talk about quickly that have had an up and down season so far is United. I want to go back to last weekend and look at the game that you played. I feel like going into it, the game could have gone either way. Everton obviously started off well, dropped off a bit with a few injuries and a few players being out recently, but a few were back fit again. And the game really could have gone either way, but United did come out on top. A few questionable decisions throughout the game I just want to talk about. The first one being the potential penalty, Mary, on Harry Maguire. What did you make of that? Has Pickford been let off again?
Initially, I thought like it was a penalty, but looking back, I think Maguire did push him a little bit. So, Pickford absolutely hacked him. Like, let's be honest, he did, and Keane as well. But it was probably a free out as opposed to a penalty. I think he did push Pickford first, but Pickford needs to calm his beans, like he really does, because he's going in there and he's just
he's on a kind of mean streak right now. He really
is. Yeah, he's going for the kill. He needs to calm down.
He does. Going to get a bit of a name for himself if he doesn't already have. I just want to see what people think to Manchester United without Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, he's come up, he's produced an amazing performance against Everton. Where do you think that if Manchester United had the current squad of players, Ollie in charge this season, but without Bruno Fernandes, where would they finish? Lincoln, what do you think?
Certainly not where we are now, to be honest. I mean, people talk about drop Bruno for Donny, give Donny some time. As soon as we call for, as soon as you start getting angry about Bruno being dropped for not being dropped for Donny, then he goes and does that against Everton. I mean, like players like that just need to be on the pitch because even with Salah as well, like when Salah's on the pitch and he's having a bad game, we could just pop up with 2 goals, bang, right there. So he's one of our most important players, and I don't think we would have finished 3rd that season without him.
I just don't think
that. Go on, Jen. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, I just don't think he should be so relied upon. If you look at Man United's squad, there's enough talent there.
Yeah, no.
Rashfords, the Pogbas, the Greenwoods. Like, yes, he's important, and yes, he makes you guys tick, and I get that. But if he's not playing, you shouldn't be like a one-man band team. You got quality. Do you know what I mean? You should be winning games without him as well. But
it's like the consistency problem with United. He hasn't just existed under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's reign. It's been through Van Gaal, it's been through Mourinho, it's been through David Moyes. The consistency has been a problem ever since Fergie retired, and it's not just under Solskjaer. And with the players that we have, Rashford and Martial, they can look world class one game, but then look like they're playing for Crystal Palace the other. So it's just like finding consistency, but you just can't seem to find it.
Mary, do you think that you will finish in the top 6 or top 4 this season? And if you didn't have Bruno Fernandes, would you finish outside the top 6 or the top 4?
I think if we didn't have him, I think Ollie wouldn't be in the job because he wouldn't have finished in the top 4 last season. Absolutely not. He has 31 goal contributions in 33 games. He has 7 non-penalty goals since he's come into Man United, most of any other midfielder. Best midfielder, certainly in the Premier League for me, if not even in Europe right now. If we didn't have him, no, we wouldn't finish in the top 6. With him, I think we will finish in the top 6. Top 4, I'm not sure. Like, I agree with Lincoln. We need consistency. If we don't start putting a run of games together, because we're already so far behind, we've already lost 3 Premier League games. We're playing catch up, so we need to put a good run together. No, we know we can. Last season, we went 19 games unbeaten under Ollie and clawed back that 14-point gap on Leicester. But then as well, the other teams around us were dropping points. I'm not sure if they will this season. So I'm not sure if we will get top 4. Right now, I'm saying no because we're so up and down. But if we put a run together, definitely we can.
Kendall, do you see United in the top 4 this season?
I think it's a bit of a funny one. Just personally, no, because I think there's a couple of other teams that are probably going to do a lot better this year. I can see them finishing in the top 6 probably. If they keep on and get their act together and Bruno ends up being a standout player, I can see them top 6 no problem. I think top 4 is going to be a funny one this year because obviously Leicester's up there again, going back to like 15-16 season. Aston Villa are doing really, really well. Everton have obviously got really, really strong players, but they've kind of fell off at the moment. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really odd season this year. And then obviously you've got the likes of Liverpool and Chelsea who are going to be up there. So yeah, I can see top 6, 100%. But whether or not it's top 4, I'm not sure. But I always say that, and I always get stuff wrong. So the opposite always happens to whatever I say. So yeah, they'll probably win the league now that I've said that. But
just talking about a team like Leicester, obviously we on this show, I think I remember correctly, were on the first episode, we're talking about how amazing Everton were doing, and that we could see them as a team that easily finished in the top 6. Now we're looking at Leicester, as you said, Villa, Southampton, all these other teams, Wolves, doing fairly well. Are there any teams that anyone is certain, any of these kind of Evertons, Leicesters? I mean, Leicester in their own right can maybe be considered a really big team these days, but outside of the big 6 teams, is anyone confident that one of those teams is definitely going to finish in the top 6?
I hope so, because I put Everton in my top 4.
Really? Where do you think they'll finish?
They've lost their last 4 games, isn't it? Or 3 or 4 games now. And
3,
I'm just like, shouldn't have done that. But to be honest, I think Wolves look good. I think Wolves, as usual, always look good. They look solid. They don't concede many goals. I think they can cause a problem. I don't think Southampton will, especially without Danny Ings now as well. He's massive for them, for me. Him not being there will be an issue. But definitely Everton and Wolves for me, I'd say.
Not Leicester.
As well. Leicester,
and Leicester, sorry. Leicester, yeah.
It's,
So
it's
if
like,
we're
it's a
looking,
test.
so if we're looking at teams, like we've just named 3 teams there, where does that leave the big 6? Where does that leave Arsenal? Where does that leave United?
Arsenal won't get top 6 this year.
No, they're not good enough. Arsenal squad is not on
They
par.
won't get top 6.
We're out of injury away from looking toothless.
Where do we think they'll finish?
Who, Arsenal?
Yeah,
9th,
at max.
8th, yeah.
I said
max 8.
I said 7, being respectful, but how good everyone is, they can't even beat Aston Villa.
They haven't got enough goal scoring ability to get higher up the table at the moment because they're relying on Aubameyang and he's not on top.
Yeah, I agree.
Harry Maguire has had more shots on goal than Aubameyang this season.
They haven't got enough. They haven't got enough to push them further up the table, unfortunately.
They don't. But I just want to talk about the Villa game, and obviously we've talked about goal scoring issues that they might have. But at the back, each of those goals that Villa scored, for me anyway, were individual errors. I think it was Saka, Bellerin, and Tierney. Yeah. I mean, I would say that all those 3 defenders are, fairly decent defenders, but the individual errors that led to those goals was shocking. If they continue like that, then I don't think it's the top end of the pitch that Arsenal also have a worry with.
They've got no one to rely on because their backups are people like Mustafi and Holden. So like they've got like no one to rely on at either end of the park. And the problem is, I mean, their midfield's not strong enough to be the spine of the team either. They signed Partey, they can play him at right back. He used to play at right back at Atleti sometimes when Vasalico was injured. Obviously Vasalico's been out a long time now. So he kind of defensive aspect. So whether Arteta takes that on board, I'm not entirely sure because I think they've obviously bought him to be sort of a creative midfielder, which is fair enough. But I don't think they have all round squad strength to get to the point where they probably expect themselves to be this year. So I think the point of Arsenal playing this formation that they've been playing since Arteta's been there is for them to be solid at the back.
Yeah.
And when you look at them against Aston Villa, you're thinking he needs to change it. I said they ain't got no plan B. It seems like he's stuck on a plan A and he hasn't got no plan B. He ain't got no goal scorers. He hasn't got no creators. Do you know what I mean? Like, who's the creator in there? They've got rid of Ozil. I mean, Saka maybe. Other than that, who's creating goals for them? And like you said, Aubameyang's the only one that really, gets goals for them. Without him, where is it coming from? Do you know what I mean?
They have no plan B. They barely have a plan A.
But there you go. That's what I'm saying.
How far?
Like the decision to leave.
How long do we see Arteta? Yeah,
I think he could be sacked.
I don't, because I think it's a similar, it's an Ollie situation. Like club legend, they're not gonna.
He's not a legend.
They're gonna give him, but they're gonna give him more time. They're gonna give him more time than they usually would, in my opinion.
It's not even that. The only reason they brought in Arteta in the first place is because they weren't going to give the money and the power to any proper manager to come in, like a Jose or an Ancelotti, who are actually available. They brought in Arteta because he's young and he's going to take that opportunity because it's the only big job available. They sack him. Who's going to come to Arsenal right now?
No one.
Because Ollie could get sacked and they could go for Poch or Julian Nagelsmann. The PSG job is available.
Poch isn't going to go to Arsenal, is he, for example?
The City job is available. Yeah. Barca potentially is available. They're bigger clubs than Arsenal, so
There's no step up from it. There's no point of getting rid of someone to bring in. Like, if there was an Ancelotti available, I'd say go and get him. But if you're going to go and get rid of him to go and get Poch, like, why? What's the difference? Like, what's the difference? How do we know that he's going to get them to winning titles and things like that? I just don't see any manager out there that can come walking in and change that Arsenal squad. So they've just got to give him time.
Yeah, I was just about to say that Rafa Benitez.
The tinker man. The tinker man.
I will not allow it. I'm not allowing Rafa to come back to the Premier League unless it's back to me.
Yeah, he's the only good manager I can think of that can handle that. So Benitez,
I think either way, it's looking very, very sticky for Arsenal.
But he's only good with a bad board, though, that he doesn't handle a bad board very well. So not going to work.
Yeah.
Very true. I've just seen the super chat come in. If Aubameyang gets injured, then they'll be in a relegation battle. I mean,
With the Aubameyang, they're in a relegation battle.
Don't go that far.
Yeah.
It's like a United situation, though. Are they relying on one player that isn't even at the minute performing? Like,
no, they're not. They've got a lot more ammunition than Arsenal ever. Do you know what I mean? Like, you only got to look at last season. You only got to look at last season. At the end of last season, what the Martials and the Rashfords and the Greenwoods were doing, they were all contributing to goals. Who they got? One person.
Exactly, because at least with United, the bad form that they're currently on, United have this act of being able to switch it on for 15 games, and that could push them into the top 4. I don't see Arsenal going on any type of run, sustaining them to get into the top 6.
Yeah.
So
that's a change the way they play, but then Arteta's looking like that stubborn coach, like wouldn't like to change the way he's playing, like saying, "No, I want the FA Cup like this. I'm going to stick to this.
I want the FA Cup like this." You see what you're saying?
Exactly. But
do you think Arsenal will compete and go far in Europa?
No.
No.
Depends who drops down from Champions League as well, for example. But there's teams like in Europa now that are like smashing it at the minute. I mean, Tottenham's in Europa as well, and I feel like they're probably going to go quite far. There's teams like Sevilla who win it pretty much nearly every year. I can't see them really doing anything this year. To be honest, I can't even see how they won the FA Cup last year. I was even surprised at that. But
that was our fault. That was our fault, Kendall. Pulisic pulled his hamstring and it was done.
We'll blame you.
If we just sort of round up the Premier League talk and last weekend, now controversial decisions, we don't like them. VAR, we don't like it. But City, Liverpool, we saw a handball given against Joe Gomez. What did we all make of that?
Ridiculous.
First time I saw it, I was like, yeah, they're gonna give it as a penalty. But then, like, just because it's the rules doesn't mean that like it's right. Like that should a few years ago. That's never a penalty. Why is it?
But Lincoln, to be honest, this is where I disagree because they have to show consistency. If you look at the game before that, who was playing before them? Was it Newcastle or someone? The same thing happened. Where they handled it in the box. The Wolves game, that's it. So they have to be consistent. If they would have given that and not given the next one, what would that have said for the refs and that? Do you know what I mean? And VAR.
They have to follow the rules, but it doesn't mean that it's like
the rule needs changing. The rule needs changing over the consistency of the decisions. It's the rule that's the issue. If they're going to keep it up, then fair enough. We can't sit there and moan about the rule because it is the rule.
It's the rule,
If it hits your hand, okay, it's a rule. That's fair enough. There's nothing you can do about it until. But obviously, you're always going to be upset when it's against your team or like it's a bad decision that shouldn't be. But if that's the rule and they're going to stick to it, unfortunately, we're just like VAR. We're just going to have to move with the times and just agree to disagree. That's just going to be the decision now, unfortunately.
I just think there was no way his arm was actually in a natural position. He was trying to move it was. I know it was the rule, but it's just it's absolutely absurd. There was no way he could get his hand out of the way. Like it was just his hand was there. Unless he was going to chop it off, he couldn't get it out of the way.
Exactly.
So. Yeah. I think a lot of these decisions are making. Sometimes there are questionable decisions that the refs are making on their own, but it's making these refs look bad because they do have to stick with consistency and what it says in the book. And even though the refs themselves probably don't agree with the rules, but they have to implement them. So it's a shame. Mary, I just want to quickly get you to address the super chat that came in. What do you think to that? Because I'm not sure.
Absolutely not. Pepe is picking up. Pepe can't even get ahead of old man Willian. Like, stop.
That is Zayn at his best, but we love him.
Jesse Lingard walked into that Arsenal 11.
I've actually been saying for the longest time, Jesse Lingard needs to go somewhere like Arsenal. He does, but anyway.
He's too good for Arsenal, though.
Because he's going to enhance them to like a top 4. Lingard, it's just throwing your rubbish to Arsenal, isn't it? It's like throwing it in a bin.
Arsenal loves FA Cups. Lingard has scored in the FA Cup final. It works.
Oh, don't cry, please. Just stop trying to justify it. All right? No justifying this.
We're going to move on to international football now. I know it's not really the most exciting, but there's a few things I do want to address. The first one is, now we spoke on Box Box Babes because they just released the squad selection. Now, after the performance that Ross Barkley put in last weekend, what are all our thoughts on a player like Ross Barkley not receiving a call-up for this international break? Kendall, I'll come to you. What do you think?
It's just crazy. There's just several players that don't get a chance, like, because Gareth Southgate just loves these little boys. Like, that sounded really strange, but I mean, like, sorry, Gareth, not me to like
breaking news.
Soz Gary. But yeah, it's a bit odd because there's like players like Grealish that he doesn't start a lot. For example, I mean, I know we had a conversation last week about Callum Wilson not being called up over, people like Tammy Abraham, for example. And we discussed the stats and things around that. And I mean, that from a selfish point of view, that was fine with me because we need him desperately, and he's injured already now, which so would have been 10 times worse. But yeah, I don't understand players like Ross Barkley when he's having, he's come back. He's had a really tough, I would say, 2 seasons now. He hasn't been back to his best. Hasn't been getting the game time that he probably wanted himself, and he's shown what he can do again at a team like Villa. So yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. We're all used to Gareth Southgate picking his favourites, and there's probably 3 or 4 players in that team that we would all probably agree doesn't deserve really to be there. But yeah, unfortunately, that's just the way it's looking at the moment. And he always says he picks on form, but he's a little Billy liar because he doesn't. He just picks his favourites and people that he likes. So.
Well, we all know he doesn't pick on form because of the Jack Grealish thing. Jack Grealish has been informed, dragged his team from relegation last year single-handedly, and he still didn't call him up. So yeah, I think Gareth Southgate chats out of his arse. But anyway, I carry on to talk about Jack Grealish actually. Mary, you obviously watched the game last night. How do you think he played? And do you think that a player like Jack Grealish should be making England's starting 11?
It's a no-brainer. I mean, him and Harry Kane are probably the 2 informed players in the Premier League right now. How you cannot pick him is absolutely absurd. Now, I personally think Gareth Southgate is an appalling manager. He's only got the job because he's a yes man. Realistically, I mean, I couldn't believe when he got the job, of all people, Gareth Southgate. And he's proven it because, I mean, to not pick Jack Grealish, and I personally do think he has a kind of dislike, whether it's personally or not, or whatever it is, he definitely has a thing against Grealish because, for me, probably besides Harry Kane would be the first name on my team sheet. So I really don't understand it. And like he left Ireland as well to play for England. So it hurts even more because then he's not getting picked when he would have been obviously the star man in our team.
So yeah, that comment has killed me off.
That ain't my show, by the way. I don't know.
Very funny, Jem. That's very funny.
Jem, as an England supporter, I
don't support
you follow. Do you follow England at all?
I don't. I have no interest. Well, I watch them, but for me, I just haven't. No expectations of England. Like, they haven't done anything for me to get very happy and excited to watch them and waste my valuable time to just sit there and watch them. They're just dead for me. Like, I just they get all hyped up. They get to a tournament, they smash it. They knock teams out of the water in the groups, and they get to the serious nitty gritty bit, and they always fall. Always fall. Look at the Croatia.
Oh yeah, the mighty Panama.
Look at the Croatia game. Yeah. Well, we've got to the semis. Yeah. How can you not beat Croatia?
Should have squared it to Sterling.
Do you know what?
Sterling would have missed.
We're not gonna entertain that conversation.
The only thing I will say quickly, Ross Barkley. He is. I sound like I'm being negative all the time, but for me, he is so inconsistent. I kind of understand why he doesn't get an England call up. Yes, he's good on form. The thing with Ross Barkley is he can be good for a good 3 or 4 games, and then he just goes missing. and he goes missing and he goes missing. And for me, he's always been like that throughout his career. He's always been Mr. Inconsistent. He has so much talent, could have been something. But I just don't think he's ever reached them levels that I think he should. And people like Grealish, for me, who are 10 times, are better than him, should be starting over Barkley, or should be picked over Barkley. So I understand why Ross Barkley doesn't get calls, because for me, he's just too inconsistent in my eyes.
I hear that. But if Barkley were to stay in the form that he's in, and he does look to be very, very critical for Villa at the minute, do you think he should, before the Euros, get given a chance?
He deserves it. But look, if he goes throughout the whole season and he's like their talisman, and him and Grealish are smashing it for Villa, he deserves the opportunity, because he's played a great season. But like I said to you, it's just that he goes through dribs and drabs. He'll have a really good game against Arsenal, but next week they'll lose 3-0 and he'll be non-existent. And it's just like, that's my biggest issue with Ross Barkley. He's even like that with Chelsea. Like, he'll come on, he'll play a couple games, he'll score, and then he'll start the next game, and then it's like, where is he? Is he even on the pitch? Like, he needs to be more, I don't know what the word is, but in control, take control of games. You don't do that for me.
If we look at England as a whole and the strongest starting 11 that they can put out, do we think that they are capable, and I'm going to say under Gareth Southgate because he will be in the job by the time that the Euros come, do we think that England can win the Euros? No one thinks so. Someone tell me why.
You say strongest starting 11. What is your style of play? That's the first thing.
If we're just looking on paper, who we think in each position would be, the most effective. It's hard to say, but Prime, you're throwing me off here. You're throwing me off. You think we can win the Euros or not?
Prime.
Isn't it a starting 11? That's the problem.
That's what Prime does. Question after question. That's what he does.
He never gives you a yes or no.
Yeah, he never gives you a yes or no. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
There isn't a starting 11 though. That's the problem. There isn't a solid starting 11 that he always plays. He always mixes it up, and then we just don't really get to see the true value of anything, because it's never the same team. So, and there's teams like France, Belgium, for example, who are like Germany miles ahead of us, way ahead of us in any sense, and there's no chance we're winning the Euros.
But do you think that the caliber of players that England possess, surely we should be in contention, but we're all saying no? Does that then come down to Gareth Southgate?
You never are. You should be, because you do have world-class players, unbelievable players. But like, I've been watching international football for like nearly 30 years. They've always flattered to deceive. They never do it. They bottle it at international tournaments. They can't gel either. In my time, a lot of the players hated one another because they were playing with Liverpool. United, it wasn't United. They were all, they had their cliques and stuff. I don't know what way that is now under Southgate. I think he was trying to change that. On paper, England have an unbelievable team, but it's just they never gel. They flatter to deceive, and they bottle it at international tournaments.
If we couldn't win anything with Lampard, Beckham, Scholes, Terry,
Gerrard,
we're never going to win anything.
What is the problem then?
Yeah.
What is the problem? Like,
I think it's mentality. I'm not joking. I actually think there's a mentality issue there. Like, every time we come up, they just, like, the way they play for their clubs, they just do not do for their international teams, full stop. And they've never done. And like Kendall said, we had the golden age of Rooney, Gerrard, Lampard, Terry, Ashley Cole. All these men were in their prime, and we still could not win anything with them. Like, it's definitely a mental, I don't know what it is, if it's the manager, the systems, or if it's just a mental thing.
It's also a lack of balance, because you look at your centre backs. Do you seem to have a partnership with them? You have so many midfielders, Grealish or Barkley or Mount or Henderson or Declan Rice. There's no balance there. You've got a front three. Who starts up front? There are some people saying maybe drop Kane or play Sterling as a false nine. Calvert-Lewin's in form now. Do you play him? By the time the Euros comes around, there's going to be another breakthrough player that people say should come in the squad, like Saka or Greenwood. But yet, have they earned their right to play in the team? I don't think so. This has always been a problem for England, because I've been watching England more or less my whole footballing life. it doesn't matter on the players that you have. You don't have a balance, and then when it comes to a tournament, someone out of nowhere comes into the squad because of a breakthrough season they've had, and that's all they get to base off of. Like Rashford, when he got into the squad, because he broke through at Man United and he was scoring a few goals here and there, but he didn't even earn the right to get in. Oh, thanks. He didn't earn the right to get in. For me, that is one of your big problems. No balance. Because everyone here in this current England squad seems to be friends with each other, and that's all cool. But if it's not working on the field of play, it doesn't mean anything. You look at Spain and their golden era when they won 3 tournaments on the bounce. The majority of the squad consisted of Real Madrid and Barca players, and yet they still were able to win things. Look at Bayern Munich. They've got players majority from look at Germany, sorry. They have players majority from Bayern Munich, some from Dortmund, and a few from around the Bundesliga and some around Europe. They managed to make it work and win. Look at Portugal. They're able to make it work and win. France are able to make it work and win. I look at England players. How many world-class players England truly have? Harry Kane.
Nick Shaw.
That's about it. You can say Trent is world-class, cool. You can say Sterling is cool. That's 3, arguably, that you have.
Whereas but what you're trying to say is, Prime,
with Germany and Spain and
Prime,
everyone else.
Prime, what you're trying to say is, if you put France's first 11 against the England first 11 and you match the players, like just compare them in their positions, there's no comparison.
I could put Germany's second 11 against England's first 11. You wouldn't beat
second
them.
11. That's what I'm saying. There you go.
I think it's a mentality problem as well within England, as we've seen with all of the sort of discipline that's happened. Kyle Walker, for example, the first one to do things, and then obviously we had the whole Ford and Greenwood situation, and the Sterling, Hudson-Odoi and Tammy Abraham situation. It's a complete mentality thing. We saw Gaza in the 90s crying his eyes out because he got sent off in a semi-final.
Yeah.
We saw Ryan Christie, who plays for Celtic yesterday, Scottish guy, he cried yesterday because he got into a tournament. That was it. The mentality of England players now isn't that at all, because all England players now, the squad that we've got because of the situation, you know, the big 6 and whatever, they're focused on the league all the time because there's always something coming. There's always FA Cup, League Cup, Premier League, Champions League, Europa League, for example. So an international tournament for them isn't a big thing like it used to be years ago, when people were so proud to play for their country and it was like the biggest thing of every 2 years or whatever. It's just that mentality just isn't there anymore. I don't know whether that's manager. I don't know whether it's just thought of the progression of football. I'm just not entirely sure, but you can tell when the mentality just isn't there.
Culture, I think. A lot of players are playing football maybe for the wrong reasons these days.
Yeah.
But there you go. Guys, just going to finish off with something which I'm intrigued to hear about. I obviously prepped you all on this. I just want to hear if we're looking at sort of outside the top 6. So welcome to the conversation, Kendall. I'm joking. If we're looking
I'm Mary at the moment.
Big teams, you know, out of the big 6. You like, well, we all know who I mean. I want to look at who we all think is the best goalkeeper, the best defender, right back, left back, centre back, whatever, best midfielder and best forward player. So Prime, I'll start with you. Who do you think is the best goalkeeper outside of a big 6 club at the minute in the Premier League?
Kasper Schmeichel.
Damn it.
Don't even have to think about it.
Is that you agreeing then, if we got 2 people that are thinking Schmeichel?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
I've got some shaking of the heads. Who else is anyone going to throw into the mix?
Caldalo, because he's got the most saves in the league at the moment, if we're talking about right now on form.
Oh, right now?
Are we talking about on form, or are we just talking about in general?
I'm gonna go with we'll go with in general.
Okay, cool. If it's in general, I'm going for Nick Pope.
Okay, yeah. And Mary, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Nick Pope as well. Absolutely, yeah. Brilliant goalkeeper.
This Pope guy, he's not even good.
Dubravka as well. He's immense. And he's so underrated.
Dubravka, I'd agree with Dubravka as well.
Yeah. I remember his
Shall
first game against United. He looked fitting right away.
Saying that, Emi Martinez, but he was at Arsenal, wasn't he? And now he's at Aston Villa. He's
Well,
Well, he was also at a top club that's not in the top 6, so it could be a Martinez, yeah.
He's doing very, very well. Could be very key for Aston Villa this year.
Shout out for Rui. Quick shout for Rui Patricio as well.
Yeah,
From Wolves,
yeah, 100%. Okay, so let's move on to defender. So left back, right back, centre back, whatever you want. I'll start with you, Mary. Who really is shining for you outside of the top 6? Big 6, sorry, not top 6.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka, since we're not in the top 6.
No, come on.
Vestergaard, I think from Southampton is absolutely smashing it at the minute, and he's a goal scoring machine as well. I'm massively impressed with him, I have to say.
Yeah, bagged a few, hasn't he? Jem, what do you think?
Connor Cody for me. I think he's immense. He has been immense, and I think he holds the Wolves' defence very well. And him and the other guy next to him, Bowley, one of them two, they're good for me.
Yeah. Kendall, what about you?
A couple of Leicester players for me. Ricardo Pereira, he's real for Leicester. And Castagna, he's had a really, really good start of the season, even though he's injured now. But yeah, other than that, I'll definitely Cody, Semedo, Bolly, all look really, really good for Wolves at the moment. So
Semedo's class.
Yeah, Lincoln, what do you think?
I'm gonna do a obscure one. I'm gonna go for Wesley Fofana from Leicester. He's not particularly one of the best centre backs right now, but then the way that he's fitting at Leicester, I feel like he's fitting really well. I watched 90 minutes of Leicester versus Man City and Leicester versus Leeds, and there's a two pretty good opposition, and considering the way they play. Wesley Fofana, he fits in because I think Leicester right now they play a back three now with Fuchs on left centre back, and then what? I think Johnny Evans or Wes Morgan right centre back, then Fofana in the middle. I think the way that Fofana fits in, he's actually exceeded expectations, and considering the fact that he's 19 as well.
Leicester are looking. I didn't know how Leicester would come back this season after obviously just missing out on the top 4, but they look good. Prime, who are you picking?
Johnny Evans.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy's a leader. He's one of the reasons why Leicester are as strong as they are defensively. There's a reason why Leicester got 85 million for Harry Maguire. That was a big part due to Johnny Evans. Chilwell, as good as he is, a big part due to Johnny Evans. Soyuncu last season looking as great as he did, a big part due to Johnny Evans. Fofana comes in, he's a good defender, but he's settling in, a big part due to Johnny Evans. There's a reason why people talk about this guy. He was linked to Arsenal a few years ago, and they all said no, as if they have some sort of right to deny a centre-back who's won Premier Leagues and knows what it takes to win games. Last season, because of how abysmal Chelsea were, I would have taken him at Chelsea. Now we have Thiago Silva, so that doesn't
Excuse
matter.
me, we got fourth. What are you talking about? We didn't have an abysmal
Yeah,
season.
but how bad our defense was, or how bad Kepa was, I would have taken a leader to fix it. I would have taken Johnny Evans.
I would never have.
You look a bit disgusted by Johnny Evans, Jem.
I think Soyuncu's a lot 10 times better than Johnny Evans.
Yeah,
Soyuncu don't look good. Soyuncu don't look good because he's got Johnny Evans next to him. It's the other way around, mate. I don't know what you're talking about.
And people said the same thing about Harry Maguire, and now he's getting arrested in Greece and stuff. So no.
Oh, Mary. Don't have that.
Calm down, Mary.
I rate by the way, but Evans all the way.
Shout out to Lamptey as well, because the comments have been saying
I was going to finish that off.
He's been class. Yeah,
I was definitely going to just finish that off by mentioning him. He's been great, and I would, hands down, I don't know about you and your teams, but I would have him at Tottenham. That is for sure. Okay, let's move on to midfielders. Let's look at just sort of centre mids. I'll go to you, Kendall. Who do you think has done particularly well?
Ooh, centre mids, I don't know. Midfield in general, I'd obviously, well, you know, Grealish, depending on where you want him to play, he's got to be in there.
Yeah.
Barkley again for me. I mean, I know he's only just got back on form this season, so that's a bit of a funny one. Other than that, St. Maximin.
Oh my god!
Have to get in there. Have to get him in there for KJ. But seriously, when he's obviously on form and he's in a better team than Newcastle, he would be immense for me because we are just shite. But yeah, definitely 100% Grealish should be my top pick in there, 1,000,000% all day long. I'd be surprised if everyone else didn't agree with that. So, but Prime probably doesn't.
No, I
Prime,
agree.
what do you think?
I agree with her on that one. So.
Yeah, Grealish, great shout. Prime, what do you think?
Yeah, either Grealish or Ndidi.
Oh, Didi as well.
Okay. Yeah, I've got that
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Prime wouldn't agree with that.
Mary, what do you think?
My man Ward-Prowse, because I've been bigging him up for I don't know how long. So underrated. I absolutely, I know Ings is doing it, but if they didn't have Ward-Prowse, they'd be absolutely nowhere. Very underrated player, and I'm going to shout him out because he's superb.
Immense on free kicks as well. He'd take over the free kicks in the squad straight away.
Like a throwback him.
Lincoln, anyone else?
Well, since Mary's got my one, I'm going to go for Declan Rice. He's despite no. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was gonna say Ward-Prowse, but Mary.
You made me walk away nearly.
I wanted to say Declan Rice, but I know what James likes. So.
No, Declan Rice isn't the. He may not be the world class DM, but he's still solid. And this season more than others, because Mark Noble's seen less and less game time, he's showing that he has leadership qualities as well. That's what I say because Jim's getting depressed.
No, I'm cool, bro. I just don't get the whole fascination of Declan Rice. Like he's
I
not
agree.
world.
Yeah,
no, I know.
Can I just say, Prime? He is not world class. And if that's your
I said that as a
class,
joke.
then you've got
Relax,
to problem,
relax. I said that as a joke. Don't lose your talk. Relax.
I'm gonna just throw in Alan from Everton.
Yeah.
I think he's fit in really well. He's had a really good start to the season. So yeah, that's my one. Let's look at wide forward players. I don't want any wing backs in there. Just wide, out and out sort of Son. You know, one who's always going to play in that position, but obviously not in a big six. Has anyone got one straight away that they want to throw out?
Jared Bowen. Bowen of West Ham.
Yeah.
Good player.
Yeah.
Good player.
I'm going to say Barnes from Leicester. I like him. He's quite good.
He is good.
I would have said Alan St. Maximin, but if we can't use him, Under at Leicester.
Yeah, he's good.
Lincoln, Kendall, who are you thinking?
Yeah, well, mine was St. Maximin, so.
Biased.
We haven't really seen most of him yet, but I would say Berahino from what we've seen of him at Brentford, and then the glimpses at West Ham. Ben Rama.
I was saying Berahino. I was like,
I know Berahino.
Yeah, fam. He's been looking. He's looked excellent at Brentford, and we're probably going to see the best of him at West Ham, given that David Moyes gets the best out of him.
And let's finish off the show by strikers. Who do we think?
Vardy.
I'm going to say
Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, I would say Jamie Vardy, or I'd say for me Raul Jimenez. Like one of them two. They're my two strikers.
Yeah.
And Danny Ings.
Bamford.
Yeah, I've got them three as well.
Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, Bamford, Watkins.
No, not
from Aston
Calvert-Lewin.
Villa.
Not Calvert-Lewin. No.
Callum Wilson.
Why not
Yes,
Calvert-Lewin?
Callum Wilson. Yes.
Because if you're going based on general, he's only actually all right. He's done a bit for Everton at the beginning of his season, but the last 3-4 games they've lost, and he's not really been involved in the game. For me, you're putting him in levels with Jamie Vardy, who's always around top goal scorer each season. Danny Ings, who's always up there and proven each season. Calvert-Lewin's been around when these guys have been reaching them levels, but he's never ever got to them levels like they have. So why am I going to put him in their bracket when he's starting to score a couple goals this season?
What service has he got though? Because of the injuries around him, if he's not getting the adequate service, what can he really do?
Don't ask a question on top of a question. Yeah, this goes.
It's not. It's a question that you know the answer to. He can't do anything if he's not getting service.
What do you mean he's not getting service? There's 10 men. There's 9 men on the pitch that are meant to provide him with service.
But if he's not getting said service, he can't really score, can he?
Is he
You can say
not?
that about anyone? That doesn't make any sense, does it? They can say that about any striker.
I'm just answering your point of why he's gone missing in the last 3-4 games.
Well, I think since Richarlison has been suspended, he's struggled. So
Rodriguez was playing the last game, wasn't he? What happened?
But they were playing us, so we hammered them.
Yeah.
So did we. We beat Everton as well. So what is that?
Yay!
Chelsea have to play Everton as well.
Was that about Chelsea playing Everton? We reckon. Well, we'll save that for another time. It's coming up to an hour, and I've managed to fit everything in. So, guys, thank you so much for coming in, dropping into Box to Box Babes. Obviously not babes, but I'll take you any week.
We're still babes. Don't worry.
Yeah, you are. Another week of international football. So, yeah, good luck everyone getting through this week. But we will be discussing the Premier League fixtures on our Box to Box Babes next Friday. A big weekend of football.
We've got Chelsea.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Yes. I'll have you back. I'll have you back, Jem. You can come back.
I need to talk to Kendall actually. Something.
Well, we play City on Saturday, and Saturday is my birthday. So imagine if we lose. Imagine if we lose.
You won't lose to City.
I reckon you can beat them.
I think you can
do one. Are you at home or away? You're home or away?
We are.
Does that matter?
Oh, I'm not sure actually. We're at home. I think we've got them. I really do.
I might do it, yeah.
I might regret saying that, but we'll see. We'll give that a more of an in-depth analysis next Friday. But for now, thank you everyone for coming on. If you just want to plug all your socials, we'll start with you, Prime.
That is my Twitter. Also,
great timing.
Okay.
He loves that.
He doesn't know what to say.
Also, check out TFT out context on Twitter as well. Bye.
So there's my Twitter at right there, Lincoln Jack, and then also right over here you can see Wrestlings. It's a Black British wrestling YouTube channel. I just started making content for them now. I just did the first video last week, so if you guys want to check that out, 300 subscribers going strong. Make sure you subscribe to them for your wrestling podcast needs.
Okay. Kendall?
Kendall Rowan on pretty much everything: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Apart from Twitter's got an X on the end because, as I say every week, some pagan stole my username, but we don't know who it is. But other than that, you can catch me on a Monday on NUFC Matters on YouTube, which is a all-female Newcastle United podcast as well, and here on every Friday because everyone's just used to that.
Jem?
Yeah, Twitter CFC_Jem. And then we've got our YouTube, which we've done our second show yesterday, which is GNA TV. So, yeah, if you can, get subscribing, guys. Appreciate it.
And here we go. And Mary.
Follow me on Twitter at SheDevilUTD and go to YouTube, She Devils United. We're live at 9 tonight and we have a giveaway, Manchester United shirt to give away, so subscribe.
Thank you. And I am Maya Graham on all socials if anybody wants to follow me. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys, very much. And we will see you all next week at 7. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, all of that.
Peace.
Bye.